If you have any questions during the webinar, please leave a message. And we have question and answer Q&A session to answer your questions after the speech. Okay, let's start. As we all know, this year was a very difficult year for the shrimp farming industry, and we suffered a lot of problems, such as the shrimp prices, and continue to remain depressed and remain a very low price. And also we face many farming cost problems, and the farming cost very high, such as the feed cost and the pond rent and the electricity. And also during the farming process, there are also many shrimp diseases, such as white feces problem, Vibrio, EHP, which led the shrimp fragile and causing farmers great losses. And we all know the farming process is very difficult and hard work. So we hopefully our farmers' efforts will be rewarded. So we need to get more information in the industry and suggestions to support our future direction. Okay, now please allow me to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Arun Kumar, Rayapureddi. And he has 23 years of aqua experience in feed, fish seed production, healthcare segments, and serving many farms and enterprises. And today he made a professional analysis of this year's crisis and hoping to give you strong support. Okay, let's welcome Mr. Arun.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Today, I'm looking to present about the crisis scenario of shrimp farming in India and the price fluctuations. The past couple of years, we were having a lot of problems, especially with the pricing of the shrimp. So I would just like to present you about the present price trends which have been for the past 1.5 years. Coming from June last year, the price has drastically reduced even in the US market. As you can see in the slide, from $7.7, the price has come down as low as $6,700 per ton of shrimp. It's taken as an average price of shrimp in the US market. There's a clear difference of 1,000 USD per ton of shrimp, which is purchased by the US. And regarding the price trends, which you can see, this is the import prices. As you can see, for the past decade, the prices were on the lower side when Benami started up in 2012, and we have seen the peak prices in 2014, and the prices were somewhat relatively stable up to in the year 2014. It was on a peak, and from 2016 onwards, we were seeing a drastic drop in the prices. And these prices were touched a low in 2018. And again in 2023, we are seeing those low prices for the shrimp. So looking at these price trends, these were majorly contributed to a few major players. Like earlier, it was mostly from the Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia was producing the most of the shrimp. And now even the Latin Americans have started the production, and there's a considerable increase in the production. But the new market avenues have not opened up except for US and China. So looking into this aspect, once it's about the simple economics of demand and supply. Once the supplies have grown up, the prices have come down. So now it's time for us to look into the matter as how we can reduce our cost of productions, which would be the major criteria for us to go forward. And now to have a look at the major markets for India are mostly to US and China mostly, which contributes to mostly about 65% of the total production of India is consumed by US and China, of which in terms of value for the product, US contributes to more than 50% of the total revenue generated from India. So looking into this, in this critical situation of the market, how are we going to control our production? The major production control, the cost of production have to be taken into four aspects, like the health management of the ponds have to be taken care of. And also there should be a control and we should avoid anti-growth hindering factors, which hinders the cost of production for our shrimp. Also for this, we should look into managing our shrimp survivals, maintaining good quality seeds, and also we should avoid cross-contamination, which would increase the risk of diseases. Once the disease problem is mitigated, the success of the crop is more than and also we should adapt. The most important thing especially for Indian shrimp farmers is they have to adapt efficient and effective harvesting approaches. Here, what I mean to say is we should have like an approach wherein you have a cost-effective. You should bear in mind the cost of shrimp which you are selling, the effective cost for each piece of shrimp which would be profitable. Like at least 30% of your harvest should be about 25 grams. If you can take a holistic approach, taking into your land carrying capacities and plan your partial harvestings, we can have a proper approach wherein even at higher densities, we can go for bigger counts also. So coming into this, to see these factors one by one, the most important thing is like for India presently, the pond lease cost. The lease cost of ponds have drastically increased in India. And again, the feed cost. The cost of feed have been in the past 3-4 years, there's almost like 20 to 30% hike in the feed costs. And also the cost of PL is normally for the past decade, the PL price have almost been stable. And the cost of electricity. There have been fluctuations in India, in different parts of India, different prices are applied for electricity and energy. The cost of energy, especially for diesel, have increased almost like 100% hike in the diesel prices. And also the probiotics and the additives is one thing which we need to take care of, and the overhead costs. Now coming mostly to I would like to present you some of the cost-effective means in which you can effectively control your production. When you're taking into consideration, especially the lease, when you're taking the lease factor into consideration, most of the average lease cost is around 75,000 to 1 lakh per acre per annum. If we can consider 2 crops per year, which is an effective means for you to go ahead, which means you get about 120 to 150 days of a culture period per crop, which would be successful and where you can get bigger count harvest also. Once now, especially if you can take, we have taken a different stocking densities of 8 pieces per square meter, 15 pieces per square meter, 20 pieces per square meter, up to 80 pieces per square meter. We have considered a pond size of 1 acre, which is stable unit, and the harvest size, depending on our stocking densities, the harvest sizes would be changing. Especially if you are going for a low stocking density, you can go for a bigger size of shrimp. And if you are going for a higher densities, your size of harvest would decrease. So, and again, the survival rates, we have standardized at 75%, which is generally the normal which we get. And so the survival rate is fixed for all components, and depending on this, we have calculated our harvest output. Depending on our harvest output, we have come out with effective rate per kilo for all land which we are spending, which would be like at 8 pieces per square meter. And if your lease is about 30,000 rupees, it costs you about 19 rupees a kilo. And if you're going on a higher side, this is a graphic representation where you can see the green zone shows you that it is a viable proportion. And once into your red zone, it shows that your profitability would be hindered if you go into these prior ranges. So here, what we need to plan is, even if at whatever densities you are harvesting, you're stocking, your harvest plan to be effectively planned. Like if you're generally the land holding capacities in Andhra Pradesh are about 1,000 to 1,500 kg per acre. Once your biomass of your pond attains these particular biomass, you go for a partial harvest, wherein you can go for bigger counts, even if you are on a higher stocking density. Depending on your lease prices, this is and your other variable costs, you need to adjust your partial harvesting planning. Wherein we have a few farmers in Andhra where they go in for about even 4 to 5 partial harvests per crop, wherein they are able to attain good successful crops without losses. And then coming into the post larvae. The post larvae, where you can, we have standardized the price at about 35 paisa per PL, which is almost like has been stable for the past decade since Benami has started in India. We are getting a more of the variance is negligibly about 5 to 10 paisa per PL, depending on the cost and your transport from your hatchery. It would be a little variable, so we have standardized it at around 35 paisa. And as earlier, we have stabilized the survival at 75%. So depending on that, your harvesting potential, you can see your cost of productions, wherein it ranges from 14 rupees to around 39 rupees per kilo. So once your partial harvesting is properly planned, you can have a system wherein an average with an average stocking density of 40 to 50 pieces per square meter, you can get a reasonably good profit. And now coming into your other variable factors, especially the electricity cost, wherein the cost of electricity is mostly incurred for your aeration systems. For aeration systems, it is almost like around 350 HP for 1 kilo, 1 ton of, for 350 kg of shrimp produce, you need about 1 HP of aeration. Depending on your production capacities and your land holding capacities and your partial harvesting planning, you need to arrange your aeration facilities from the beginning itself. Once your aeration is stabilized, and most of the farmers in Andhra, they do a mistake of adding up aerators during the culture period, which is not an advisable practice. And whatever being your harvesting potential of your pond, you need to establish your aeration capacity from the beginning itself. And depending upon the chemicals and probiotics, this is a very important critical factor for shrimp farming. Most of the shrimp farmers feel that if they can reduce your cost on your chemicals and the usage of your probiotics and minerals, it could be effective. But here, you need to be very considerate that your healthcare management takes the best care of your production, because the justified use of chemicals and probiotics and feed additives is very much important, because this is going to affect your final FCR and your production. And the health management, especially if you are, because in the shrimp biomass, apart from shrimp feces, you have a lot of plankton crashes which add up to your culture. These have to be cleared regularly. So for this justifiable use of probiotics, which should not be crossing more than 15 to 20 rupees per kilogram of your production, has to be justifiably maintained. And on top of it, your operational cost, which includes your salary for your manpower, your other maintenance charges, and all these things, which would be adding up regularly. And now coming to the most important factor for your production is your feed. Feed plays a major role in your production, which costs to more than about 60% of your production cost is going into the feed. And nowadays, the past couple of years, the cost of feeds have also grown reasonably high. Now, but even taking into these considerations, we should plan our production in such a way that so that your FCR should be minimal. When you are on a low stocking densities, your FCRs are normally around 1.2. Even at higher stocking densities, if you can manage these FCRs at about 1.2, even at this cost of feed, you would be not losing much on your production. For these to do, you need to have a proper your feed management schedule, and your pond management has to be taken care of very properly. Especially when you're taking into consideration the cost of feed, because the feed cost is the major input which you're incurring in your production system. So this feed is mostly assembled with what we are considering, especially with our feed, is we are basically maintaining our protein content. We are always concerned about the protein content of your shrimp feed. This protein content, along with for the shrimp growth, along with the protein content, the fat assimilation has to be done effectively. For the fat assimilation to be done effectively, we need to inculcate proper feed supplementation into your shrimp systems. For this, here comes the play of bile acids, which are generally secreted by the liver of the vertebrates. And but the problem with the shrimp is the shrimp doesn't have an inbuilt system to produce its natural bile acids. So these bile acids, which help to activate and fat digestibility, would be a better natural emulsifier, which would be included into your diet, wherein it helps in the fat assimilation and the better utilization of your feed, which gives a better health condition to your shrimp, and which helps the shrimp to grow much faster. Here, Lashen has done a huge research for the past 15-20 years, and they've come up with a proper product called Ranan 2, which is an shrimp specialized bile acids, which are effectively used nowadays in the shrimp industry. Because there have been a lot of studies being done with for the bile acids. You can see it's mostly about folic acids, which help in emulsifying fats, activates your lipase content, and this helps in fat absorption and effectively reduces your FCR. Also, with this, with bile acids, it improves the hepatopancreatic condition. Once your hepatopancreas is in a very healthy condition, your shrimp would be more immune and would be immune against most diseases. There's a less possibility of shrimp being attacked by various diseases. Like how effectively can these bile acids be used? They generally decompose the endotoxins produced in the pond. Endotoxins are produced by your shrimp waste, which is in the pond bottom or through the plankton crashes. All these decomposed endotoxins enter into the shrimp body because they are into the natural water system, and this water system is exchanged into the shrimp body. So these toxins end up into the shrimp body and they get accumulated. These endotoxins have to be effectively decomposed, and bile acids help in effectively decomposing these endotoxins. Also, this emulsification of fat. These fats have to be fat assimilation into the body once they are emulsified would help in effective utilization of the feed which you're giving to the shrimp. And also the lipophysis of the pancreas is there, and the absorption of the lipids by the intestines. Once the lipids are absorbed effectively into the intestinal system of the shrimp, this would help in proper molding of shrimp, inducing of proper molding process, which helps the shrimp to be in a healthy condition and improves the growth condition. Once the endosystem of the shrimp is maintained properly, and the hepatopancreas is maintained healthy, this helps us in preventing diseases like the early mortality syndrome or the white spot syndrome, or effectively controls the proliferation of EHP. Once this EHP is a late intruder into the shrimp system, so once your shrimp body is properly maintained in a healthy condition, this doesn't help the pathogens to attack your shrimp body, and would help in a better shrimp growth. We have done a few trials. Ranan has conducted a few trials in Vietnam. I would like to show you a few of these slides which help us in understanding better how bile acids would be useful. The first thing is you can see to your left in the above picture is the histopathological review of the shrimp hepatopancreas, wherein you can see the intestinal specks are regular and uniform without bleeding. Whereas in the control ponds, normally without bile acid usage, you can find the distribution of intestinal specks are disorganized and there are a few hemorrhages. Because this hemorrhage, once there is internal bleeding, this does not help in having a healthy hepatopancreas. And once this does not help in proper assimilation of your feed. You can here you can see the villi are properly, the ducts are well developed with high filling degree and rich nutrients are available, which are without any ruptures. In the lower picture, you can see a few ruptures where I can show you in the slide. This is you can have a short observation of your of the products in the shrimp condition. Wherein in the control system you can see a reddish hepatopancreasis, irregular intestine in the feed in the intestine, and the intestinal tracts are not even. When you are using bile acids, especially the run-on product, you can see the clear glossy color of the shrimp. You can see the whitish color of the shrimp in the control system, whereas in the experimental prawns, the shrimp are healthy, and you can see the fine glossy translucent body observed, and the intestines are clear and continuous, and your hepatopancreas is healthy in that good healthy condition. Once you will see, because these are trials done. These are different trials when they started from day 6 of stocking the shrimp. The bile acids were used, and even in the nursery phase, the bile acids. You can see the growth condition of the animals in 15 days and 32 days. The first trials, the first observations were done there, and later in the nursery system, with the usage of bile acids, you can see a clear comparative difference in the survival rates and the growth. There is a clear difference of about 6% difference in the survival rate and more than about 13% in the body weight improvement. In the shrimp nursery system, wherein it is done from PL 8-9 to PL 26 stage. PL 26, you can, in this 15 to 20 days, you can find this survival difference. Once you have a good survival, it helps in automatically going into a better harvesting system. In a culture system, in the grow-out system, where you can see a clear increase of 4%, what you call 4% in the survival rates, and about 14%, 13.5% of your final body weights from day up to day 40. DOC trials were done observations were done up to 40 days, and you can clearly see an improvement in growth rates and the survival rates. This is an indicative image of how effectively and how fast bile acids can be effective in shrimp culture. Here, within 3 days of application, we have observed considerable differences in the observation of the shrimp health condition. You can see in this control before application, the shrimp were pale in color, and within 3 days, you can clearly observe the translucent body structure of your shrimp and the activity of your shrimp. There, here in this picture, you can see the shrimp are little sluggish and not very active. And whereas within 3 days, the shrimp started to be very active and mobile. So this helps in moving up much faster for your growth systems. Also, there were studies on observation on how effectively bile salts have controlled bacterial loads in the pond. Within 3 days of application of the product, we have clearly seen a bacterial load reduction of about 2/3 of parahemolyticus, especially within 3 days of application of bile salts in your feed supplement. Because once your pathogenic loads in your shrimp have reduced, it automatically helps shrimp to be more healthier and more active. So coming to the conclusion of what we have seen, especially what I would like to mention here is, rather than being worried about the cost of our selling price, if we concentrate more on our production cost, which would be in our hands, because the final production point for the final selling price of shrimp is not in the hands of farmers. We should look into our controllable aspects, which especially we need to take care of. Because nowadays, pond lease costs in the past 5-6 years in Andhra especially have dramatically increased. So up to 3 lakhs per acre have been costing. So farmers should be more vigilant about this, and they should be taking proper care of your pond. Because once the pond costs are increasing, farmers are tending to go for higher stocking densities and lesser crop intervals. They are interested in doing more than 3 to 4 crops per annum, which is not a profitable option, because this is leading up to what you call the disease occurrence, and your ponds are not properly fertilized and what you call you are properly maintained, because the pond the organic loads in your shrimp ponds have been are very high. So this increases the BOD and the COD loads in your pond and tends to go for your lower holding capacities of your pond. So here I would especially advise farmers to maintain a proper lease process. You go in for, don't be overcompetent on taking up lands which are not so profitable, and you should go in with the proper leasing facilities. And what my observation is, about 75,000 to 1 lakh rupees per annum would be a viable option in a proper Andhra situation. I'm talking this only for Andhra, because for Gujarat and West Bengal and Orissa, it would be a different scenario. But especially for Andhra, if your pond lease is less than 20 rupees per kilo, has to be maintained, it would be more effective. And also your PL cost. PL cost and pond lease should not cost you more than 20 rupees per kilo. And more any factor, apart from your feed, which would cost you about 100 rupees a kilo because of the present feed prices and your FCRs, if you could effectively reduce your FCRs to about 1.1 to 1.2, which many successful farmers are nowadays maintaining, it would be more profitable. And for your feed to be more cost effective, you should go in with your proper feed additives, which are more profitable, because farmers are nowadays which are looking for low cost products. Low cost things are going to cost you more. So we need to be more careful in selecting our feed supplements, which should be more effective. And especially when you are looking into your PL cost. PL cost would always be depending upon your stocking numbers, because your stocking numbers can be whatever be your stocking numbers. What I would like to especially maintain to suggest most of the farmers, I would again repeat you, it is your partial harvesting technique is the only process where you can control your other parameters, because the partial harvesting has to be planned depending upon your land hand holding capacity. This has to be decided by the farmer himself, because it is by his experience on his pond, he can analyze wherein his pond is more effectively, growths are not, without hindering your growth, you're going. Because nowadays with the growth lines, with the PL, like the growth lines and the hardy lines coming up, the growth lines we have seen about 10 grams of shrimp being attained from PL to 8 to 9, and 10 grams of shrimp being attained in 45 to 50 days time. There's a drastic reduction of about 10 to 15 days from the past history, wherein earlier we were looking at around 60 days to get about 10 grams. Nowadays, we are able to see that in 45 to 50 days. So you go in with your proper planning strategy, wherein from the day 30, because I've seen many farmers, especially in Andhra, they don't go for netting up to 60 days. your shrimp health condition has to be checked from about 3 to 4 grams stage of your shrimp. A regular observation of shrimp has to be maintained, which would help you to understand the health condition of your shrimp and the pond management, and also your planning of your partial harvest. Your partial harvest have to be planned so effectively, wherein at least, I'm emphasizing again, your cost, you have to produce at least 30 to 40% of your stocking numbers. What I mean to say, if you're stocking about 1 lakh PL per acre, at least 30 to 40% of your stock should be harvested about 25 grams. If you can get into such kind of a system, you certainly, because even today, being at the lowest price for 30 count, the 33 grams of shrimp in Andhra is now costing only 370 rupees. At 370 rupees, and if you can maintain your production cost about 200 to 220 rupees, which I mean is profit very much possible, and you can certainly be able to make, I won't say like huge margins like the yesteryears, but at least you would be like in a no loss situation. Because for another couple of years, at least for the year 2024, depending on the global reviews, I don't see any significant increase in the prices. Once the prices are not increasing, certainly there would be a time like where we have been seeing the slump in the industries, the up and downs in the industries we have been seeing since the past 20 years. Once there was in 95, once there was a white spot outbreak, people were worried about what will happen to the shrimp industry. Shrimp industry, I'm going to assure you, shrimp industry in India is going to stay for a long time, especially with the white leg shrimp. White leg shrimp is going to be in India, and also the nowadays, again, for the past couple of years, tiger shrimp is also being revived, and scampi is also being revived. Scampi industry. So we are coming up with an alternative varieties also, wherein our production can be streamlined. Where especially what we see, the success rate of Ecuador has been going with marginal stocking densities and going for higher counts at much lower price. Well, I would like to say now again, India, the production cost, the shrimp farm gate prices are highest in India compared to Ecuador or Vietnam by more than about 30%. When people in Ecuador and Vietnam with at lesser prices are able to make up for the profits, is because of their proper management, and their especially the brood stock managements have been very critical in these countries, and which I would not blame anybody, but especially the Indian shrimp industry has to look into the hatchery production. Once your quality PL are being produced nowadays, now coming up with the new lines of every company are coming up with new lines of growth lines or hardy lines, which are now very growth effective, because this would be like very what do you call certainly there would be a good growth rates and good revenues for the farmers. Because for this, especially for the livestock industry, being in the game is more important. We have seen many farmers many people who come into the industry for a couple of crops. Once they see losses, they're running away from the industry. No, this is not the case. We should be very critical, like we should look into that. We should be in the game. We should be into shrimp farming, minimizing our cost of production. Because because there are a number of people who are nowadays, people have come up with a lot of the second generation of shrimp farmers have come up, and they are mostly knowledgeable through internet. People are gaining information about everything. But I want to remind you again, once you are going through your nets, be properly educated about the basics of shrimp industry, so that the information you read would be helpful for your practical application. Because these applications, especially the change from pond to pond, you don't have a thumb rule system in shrimp industry. Every pond, even a farmer having 2 different ponds, have to apply 2 different strategies in the same system for the 2 ponds. Because because you can never replicate the natural systems. As you have seen in the past 2 months in Andhra, because of this excessive rains, there have been huge losses in the industry. So especially here, you have to plan your stocking densities according to the weather conditions also, because these are playing a major role for the success of the industry. And again, coming to your feed part of it, once your stocking density is properly taken care of and your feed has to be maintained properly, the FCRs have to be below 1.2 for your feeds at these high prices of the feeds. For these FCRs to be maintained at 1.2, I will remind you again that especially going for proper assimilation of your feeds. Most of the feed industries are going now with very good quality feeds. Now with these feeds being coming up, a proper effective, because till last couple of years, it has been mostly concentrated, all of the industry has been concentrated on protein assimilation. Along with protein assimilation, if bile salts also, bile acids can be incorporated into your feeds, which it would help to give in a better assimilation of your feed and would certainly improve your FCRs by a higher margin. And also, especially, I've spoken during earlier regarding your aeration system. Your aeration system has to be planned beforehand. Every time, I would suggest your farmer, every farmer, mostly your what you call, whatever your partial harvest plan, because depending upon your pond holding capacity, land holding capacity, you should not be, your aeration has to be installed before stocking of your shrimp. Only then, or else what the major problem, what happens is, once you add up your aeration, additional aeration into your system, this is going to disturb the sludge areas. Your sludge accumulation areas will start moving from place to place. Once your sludge accumulation points changes, these release a lot of toxic gases, which are harmful to the shrimp. So you need to be very careful in maintaining your aeration system. And this aeration also, excessive aeration is also not advisable. It is all up to you. And also in summer crop, most of the farmers are worried about aerating your ponds during the daytime, which I would suggest you have to aerate your ponds during the daytime, also during the summer months. The farmers are worried when the aeration is given in the morning hours, the plankton densities would be increasing. Once your plankton densities are increasing, please remember that it is your pond ecosystem which is not stable, wherein a lot of nitrogenous substances are being wasted, which helps in improving the plankton levels. But once if you don't aerate your plankton during the daytime, your ponds are going to get stratified. If once on stratification, and you start your aeration in the evening at the higher temperature of the water mixes, and this leads to your running mortality. So I would suggest your aeration to be maintained properly during every couple of hours. After every couple of hours after your feeding, your aerators have to be running, and once your aeration is properly maintained, this is going to maintain a good healthy condition in your stream process. And now coming to your final budget, I would say you should be able to produce your shrimp at 180 rupees a kilo max. Your production cost is the only thing in the hands of the farmer. For this, you need to take care of your overhead cost, including your overhead cost. This includes your overhead cost, which comes to like about 20 rupees per your in your budget would be for your what do you call your budget can be like I can show you in this. Your pond lease should not be more than 20 rupees. Your PL cost should not be more than 20 rupees. With these things, these I am giving them as an higher limit. If you can reduce this further down, that would increase your profit margins. The only way to sustain in the industry for these in this critical period is for you to control your production cost. Thank you. If you have any questions, we can take time for your questions. Or if anybody wants to have a word, you can please have a word. You can have a look at the products of Lashen. I wish you all a very healthy crop. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks very much for Mr. Arun's explanation and analysis, and which let us learn a lot, and it can also give us support and confidence. Thank you again. And now it's the Q&A session. If you have any questions about aquaculture industry, about your shrimp farming, and also about Renew 2 product, please leave a message.
Yeah. Like I would really say, in the present situation, there are a lot of work being done on other marine activities.
Sorry, Mr. Arun, cannot hear you clearly.
Video question. Video plus. Stop sharing. Stop sharing. Not sharing. Not. Yeah, I have a question from someone. Like, am I audible? Video off చేయండి. వీడియో మైక్ రెండు ఆఫ్ చేయండి. వీడియో బొమ్మ ఉంది చూడండి అక్కడ.
If you have any questions about aquaculture industry or about your shrimp farming, you can leave a message in the message box. Sure, and for any other questions, you can also contact Mr. Arun directly. And you are welcome to contact Mr. Arun directly. Any other questions? Okay, thank you again for coming, and I hope today's content will inspire and help you a lot, and also bless our friends, our farming friends, can have a better harvest and get more benefits, and tomorrow will be better. Thanks a lot. And in the future, we will hold those webinar and even offline activities in your local or more topics and inviting more agriculture experts to answer your questions and share more knowledge. If you are interested in this kind of information, you can join this WhatsApp group. Many new topics, news, and good tips, aquaculture information will be shared in this group. And also the record of today's webinar content will also be uploaded to this channel, the Chance Aquaculture Nutrition. If you are interested in farming knowledge, you can subscribe this YouTube channel.
अरे मी के क्वेश्चन मेल పెట్టారా లేకపోతే
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Alternative potential species. Hello, Mr. Arun. This is a question.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see in the message box.
Yeah, I've been answering them. Question. Yeah, because there's a question from somebody asking, is there any alternative for shrimp? I would like to suggest as of now, there are a number of options available. But the major constraint, especially for the finfish like cobia or sea bass or silver pampano, is the availability of sufficient quantity of seed. And also feed nowadays, it's now being available, but again, the market for these products, marketing of these products is again a big question mark. Tilapia has been tried as an alternative. And again, all this stuff, the marketing parts have to be taken care of. It's the story like the egg and the chick. Who comes first? People have to now, only once people start venturing into the product, we can start opening the marketing avenues. The marketing avenues open up once the product is available in the market. Before the product is being produced, we cannot assess, it's not right even to assess the market situations. So it is up to some innovative farmers who have been trying. So sea bass to some extent has been established. And so we would we would like to see some other species also coming up. Some people have been trying up with crab farming, but again, availability of seeds is a problem for crab. And for soft-shell crab, maintenance costs and again, regular monitoring, manpower availability, all these things have to be taken care of. Alternatives are available, but it is, again, who ties the bell in the cat's neck? Somebody has to take the initiative. Once this initiative is taken up, we can see how it goes up. There is another question from Mr. Raja Chandra, that during summers they're facing problem with white faces. Is the problem because of high temperatures? Any measures to be taken care of? Mr. Raja, I would like to suggest you, especially in summers, the occurrence of white faces is more. Because it's mostly because in summers, what happens is shrimp tend to eat more at higher temperatures. So what happens is farmers start to increase their feeding schedule, which increases the organic load in the pond. So it is during the summer months, especially farmers need to be taking care of their feeding schedules, especially. Once they do not go, shrimp at higher temperatures above 35 degrees tend to take more extra by 10% per every 1 to 2 degrees of temperature. So depending on that, you need to take care of your feeding schedules. Once your feeding schedule is taken proper care of, this problem can be minimized to some extent. And also your aeration system should be in a properly maintained during summer months. Answer చేసేసి
Any other questions? For any questions, you can add my WhatsApp number, this number, about agriculture, farming, and also the product. And you are welcome to contact Mr. Arun directly. Okay, that's all for today's content. Thanks for your watching. Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you again. Mr. Arun, thanks for your explanation and analysis.
Thank you.
And in the future, we will share more information about agriculture. You can subscribe our YouTube channel and join this WhatsApp group. Okay, thanks for your watching. See you next time.